in Redlands is now open for business, and I'm here to deliver.
Miss your favorite show? Download the podcast at kcaaradio.com.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the greatest real estate investment show ever. Here's the flip-flop investor himself, Todd Bayer.
Hey everyone, how we doing out there today? This is the Flip Flop Investor Show, and I'm your host, Todd Bayer, the Flip Flop Investor himself, coming to you live from the KCAA studios out here in Redlands, California. Hope everybody's having a good week. This is, I'm just having a good time today. So every week we get together, we talk about real estate investing here in the Inland Empire, which usually means we bring on a local investor, we bring on a local newbie sometimes, but this week we have one of our very special, very talented guests, Mr. Stephen McKee. How you doing, Steve?
Fantastic, Todd.
All right. Love the enthusiasm. This is great. It's going to be a great show. If you've been following along, every month we've been having a theme that we've been sticking to. So January was, and we're sort of following the life cycle of a real estate deal.
Yeah, it's like business beginning to end.
Right. So month one, January, we talked about goal setting, like in the spirit of making your New Year's resolutions. And then month two, February, we talked about business planning, so how to take those goals and turn them into a reality. And then in March, we talked about what did we talk about?
Deal finding.
It was deal finding. That's right.
It was deal finding.
And then last month in April, we talked about negotiation, which we did jump the gun a little bit because we should have gone to our topic this month.
Should have been analysis, and then this month is on offering.
Right. So last month should have been analysis, and then this month was supposed to be on offering. So maybe we should make this month analysis. What do you think? Steven's qualified to handle both analysis and offering. So, and we made a lot of notes and we did a lot of preparation before we came in here, and we have a lot of things to cover.
Well, I have all these questions written down here about offering.
Absolutely.
And I'm just, you know what? We should do offering because it could go both ways. You could offer and then analyze the deal afterwards. Like some people do quick math and then really dig deep into it.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So let's focus on offering, and then we'll kind of go back to analysis in month 5. That way we're, when people, it's like a post-mortem. See, like
sure.
if you, because you probably recklessly went out and made an offer in haste. Even though you, quote, analyzed it, you probably were like, I can make this work, and then quickly realize why you're in escrow, not so much.
I would say we don't even make the final offer until we've done our full analysis, which includes an inspection of a property. So, we would be sort of making what you might consider a hasty offer at the front of it because we've done just a basic desktop appraisal on a deal. So
we usually blindly take whatever weird facts people give us that are totally garbage usually.
Yeah.
And then we attempt to pick it apart, and then we're like, okay, but now we got to see the thing because we have no idea if anything you said was true.
Right. There might not even be a house there. Sure, it was there when Google drove by their house.
We just had one of those.
Yeah.
We just had one where, like, you open the door and then you see sky. Like, it's full-blown 1,500 square feet of burnt house with 4 walls.
You say that, I see 1,800 square feet with a beautiful skylight.
That is exactly what I saw.
Courtyard living.
It's exactly what I saw, but I wasn't going to stay to find out.
Yeah.
We still bought it.
Yeah, we did. And it'll be a good project. Stay tuned for that one. Okay, so then we're going I say we just dig right into offering then.
I think so.
That makes most sense.
A lot of people ask about offering. On a lot of our deals, they're concerned, that they don't want to make like a misstep, right? Like they're worried that they're going to make some sort of legal mistake.
Right.
And for me,
for you
can hear me in your cans, right?
I can hear you.
Okay.
We can hear us. We're
good. Brandon just
Brandon
did an excellent job of making my mic work perfectly, and then I suddenly forgot it was still on.
Oh, nice.
So anyway, everybody asked, they asked both of us over and over again, right? Like, oh, how do I make an offer? And the irony is, like, the offer is something to the effect of, I, Stephen McKee, will buy your house for $1.
Right.
Signed name of the owner.
Yeah, and then you sign it, and there you go. It's a contract.
Yeah, like
There's a few things you might want to add, maybe a date.
yeah.
Maybe a date you're actually going to purchase it by.
But I mean, the offer is not even as good as the paper it's written on, right? Because the only way you get to the end of a transaction is a willing buyer and a willing seller.
Sure.
And I guess that's kind of why we make fun of the offer process. Is really the offer is the conversation you're having with the seller.
Mm-hmm. And you got to go through escrow.
Well, yeah. Well, obviously, escrow is a whole other nightmare.
Sure.
Right? I mean, it's 10 to 30 days of I hope nothing else goes wrong.
Right.
And possible renegotiation and whatever else may come up.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's it, folks. That's all we have for today. Offering on a property is just...
It's really good talking to you guys today. Have a nice day.
I, Stephen McKee, will buy your house for $1, signed, dated, and there you go. You have a contract. It
really is a valid contract. As long as you date it and sign it, and it has it has to have a term too.
Okay.
You have to say that you'll close by a certain date, because a contract in California can't be open-ended.
Okay.
So it has to begin and end.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Is add a date to it of some kind. Yeah, within 20 days or something.
Yeah, and so it could be within a year. It doesn't matter what you put.
Yeah, you could put 10 years if you wanted.
I wonder if you can go beyond 35 actually on the contract, because you know how if beyond 35 is constitutes a change in ownership.
These sound like a good question for an attorney.
Yeah, those guys are expensive. And,
they are,
and cumbersome.
And strip value.
So, I guess what I get the most questions on is the residential purchase agreement.
Mm-hmm.
The
actual Bureau of Real Estate form that most realtors use. Yeah.
Yes, and so and there's only a few places, right, where there's any real scary stuff.
Okay.
So I guess the best example we should use is the one we got this week.
Okay.
So Todd, another Todd, not the beautiful man sitting across from me, did a project. He did a project with us a year ago. And actually, during that offering time, he got into a little sticky matter with a really aggressive agent.
Mm-hmm.
The agents in the desert. This is in Palm Springs. The agents in the desert tend to be as litigious as the agents in LA.
Yeah.
They
are on a different level than we are here on the Inland Empire.
We're like really handshake, and they're like super litigious.
Yeah.
And so I really don't like working with them.
Yeah.
And so Todd comes in my office yesterday morning, I don't remember what day. He's like, "Can you help me get out of this thing?" He's got a $3,000 deposit in, and I called the agent and asked the agent a series of questions. And the agent was, he was sort of like, you could tell he was trying to sell the thing. Mm-hmm. Like in the back of his mind, he knew like going to small claims court was going to go nowhere. But Todd signed the arbitration mediation clause. Yeah. And there are two clauses you do not have to sign on the RPA. And the RPA is short for Residential Purchase Agreement, the actual realtor form. Mm-hmm. You don't have to sign arbitration, and you don't have to sign the liquidated damages clause. And that's why if you look at the form, if you're trying to make an offer or somebody's making an offer to you, you'll notice, I believe it's on page 7 now. It used to be on page 5. There's two sections that the signatures are indented to the right instead of being at the normal just bottom of the page. And those signatures are because those are optional. Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, which we don't have a lot of REO sales, community banks, anybody selling an REO may force you or may say, we won't accept your offer unless you sign this. Right. But most realtors don't care. Yeah. And because you want the right to go to small claims court as long as your deposit is under $7,500. You want the right to go and quickly go in, get an appointment, pay your $100, have essentially it ends up going to arbitration because the court has their mandatory mediation. So I shouldn't say arbitration, mediation, before you go in the courtroom. And 99 times out of 100, people just give the deposit back to the buyer. Sure. Because the truth is the judge is never going to side with the seller.
Most likely not. And I guess we should give some background on the story, and that is that Todd had put an offer in on this property to purchase. The property when he put it in, he didn't know the condition of it. He hadn't done an inspection yet. So
Yeah.
the offer was it was a contingent upon inspection offer.
Correct.
And they had given themselves, I think, 15 days to inspect
He
the
had,
property.
he had the standard, the 70-day standard
Is that
of the
what it is?
contract. Yeah.
Okay, so so basically he had some time to go look at it.
Yes.
They went and looked at this property with his contractor.
Yes.
And the contractor says, look, man, we need to increase our rehab budget on this. There's no way we're going to get this place done.
It went from 70 to 110, I think.
Yeah, pretty big jump. So they
Yeah.
went back to the seller and said, look, I can't offer the same price now because the rehab is going to cost a lot more than what we thought based upon the pictures we saw on the MLS. So the agent didn't like that. But the thing is,
his agent
his
failed.
agent didn't send in the cancellation on time.
So Todd signed the cancellation, from what I understand, on the 3rd of last month. And the agent didn't receive it until something like the 14th.
Okay.
Because it has to be received by, right?
Yeah.
And that can be, unless it's emailed, right? That's why email is such a great tool in real estate. If it's emailed and you have a record that they should have received it, the address they say they can send the contract to, technically they should have received it. But I think, having our experience with that same agent, he probably didn't do his job.
Right, probably not. But then, on the other side, yeah, sure, I understand the seller, because we've been in this situation as sellers too, where we've been dragged out in an escrow for a long period of time. And, I think there was a phone call involved in here at some point where they said, we want to cancel.
Well, on the 3rd, Todd called the agent, told the agent
we'd like to cancel, and the agent is giving him guff about it.
Well, he's like, you could make this deal work, yada, yada, yada. And I think the real problem for him was, he told me on the phone that this is a probate, or it's a trust.
Okay.
The father, the guy who owned the home, just died, right? The kids are grieving. They're obviously emotional. So you have a seller who's like, I just want to be done with this. And you have this person who's bailing on the project because the agent's saying it's worth $580. Todd's saying it's worth $530.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, that's a big jump. You have
Yeah,
the agent saying the rehab is $80. Oh, he just didn't have to spend as much, were his words. And I thought, I don't know about you, but I buy sure things.
Exactly.
And Todd's like, no, it's 110. Danny walked to Danny's. We also did a job with a joint venture with, and Danny's a pretty experienced contractor.
He's been on the show.
He's been on the show
two or three times.
Yeah,
now. Yeah.
It's Danny's a very thorough. He's just a very well thought out contractor. He knows what he's and he doesn't miss anything.
Yeah, he'd be the contractor I'd recommend for my parents to have work done on their home.
Yeah, absolutely, for a homeowner.
Yeah,
you're going to get the quality and cleanliness you expect out of this guy.
Yeah.
So, so I understand both people's positions, but the truth is, a judge is never. So in this circumstance, the one thing that makes all the difference is a contingency removal. So Todd never signed a contingency removal form.
Right.
So for those of you who've never put a purchase into an residential purchase agreement or put an offer in, or you've never even read one, or things have changed. Essentially, there's a form called a contingency removal which says, I agree that my contingencies, the things I said I had to check before I buy the property, I agree that when those are up, I will sign this form releasing my contingencies, meaning that my deposit in escrow, if I fail to perform now, is the seller's because I didn't do what I said I was going to do.
Right.
Yeah. After I had done all my research, I failed to perform. Todd didn't put one in.
Yeah.
So it's going to go to court. It's going to go to arbitration. They're each going to have to spend, both the buyer and the seller, which is stupid, are going to have to spend $800 to pay for the arbitration through the BRE, because it has to be done through their specific channel. And Todd's going to get back $2,200 if it's $3,000, or it might be, I think it's $3,200. And the seller is going to be no better off, and they have to take the property off the market during the time it's in arbitration.
Yeah.
It makes no sense.
It makes no sense, and it's just it's silly to hold somebody that accountable to such a small thing.
Well, he canceled within 10 days.
Exactly.
Too. He was like, whoa, this isn't going to work.
Right.
And he didn't even cancel. He said, I just need to renegotiate.
Right.
He said, I need to go to, I think he went from 547 to 507 or something like that.
Okay.
And he was like, I need to, he said it was 503. He's like, you need to take this offer. I'm sorry, 347 to 303, because he's selling at 530.
Okay.
You take this lower price, based on my research, or I cancel. So those are like, that's the thing everybody worries about. Everybody's afraid of this circumstance.
Mm-hmm.
Todd just happens to continue to work with this agent. We've told him is an idiot, right? Who's willing to continue to work with him. We told him we wouldn't work with him after the last transaction.
Well, I'm glad we used names to protect the innocent. These are not the real names of the folks here, so you know.
Well, I mean, Todd is, but I'm not saying who the agent is.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's new.
Yeah, he's a new guy.
He's a new guy. He's really enthusiastic.
And again, it's not me. Different Todd.
Yeah,
different
Todd,
guy. There are
different
other people
Todd.
named Todd out there. It's weird.
So the other thing we get a lot of kickback on is the deposit.
Yeah.
It's like the most annoying part of this, the offer.
Yeah.
We get some
people, because the seller wants to know that you're serious, so you got to put in a good enough earnest money deposit
Yes.
to make it show, to make them think that you're serious about buying this house.
So if I could probably go through the RPA in my head, right? I've
Yeah.
filled out this RPA thousands of times. I understand. So page 1, right? Mm-hmm. And after we go through these 10 pages in my head, we're going to go to how you should actually write an offer as an investor when you're not using a realtor.
Yeah.
'Cause that's what everybody
And
really needs to
page
know.
1 and 2 are really the most important pages of the RPA.
Yeah, I'm only going to go over page 1, 2. We just went over 7. So page 1 and 2, and then the last page.
Yeah, 10.
10, essentially.
11.
So page 1 has your address, your offer price, your loan amount.
Address of the home you're buying and or selling. Yeah.
Yeah. The name of the buyer.
Mm-hmm. Name of the seller.
No, not the name of the seller. I may be wrong on that one.
I think you're wrong on that one.
It has the name of the seller still?
I thought it does,
I
but
thought they got rid of it because agents kept not filling it in,
nah.
and they moved it to page 10. But anyway, you used to have both buyer and seller, which every contract should have buyer and seller on the contract, obviously.
It's definitely on page 10.
It is on page 10.
So, I don't
I
know.
don't have one in front of me. But
We were supposed to talk about analysis, so
you know what?
we aren't prepared.
Yeah. You know what? I know it's not on there because I don't have to change that every time. Because
Okay.
if I use a template, the only thing I have to change is the agency that's
Okay.
representing the seller.
Got it.
So the assessor parcel number, so the address that matches the parcel number to identify the property properly.
Mm-hmm.
Purchase price, loan type, loan amount, deposit type, deposit amount, and total cash due when you close the transaction, the remaining amount of funds to bring to escrow.
Mm-hmm.
So on page 1, the obvious parts are the property address. If it's going to an agency, the agency's listed. If you're working with an agent, they know what agent's representing you, right?
Mhm.
Either both the same or two different companies. But then the next part down is the purchase price. Oh, number of days of escrow. As
Right.
well. So next part
An
is
important one.
number of days of escrow. So in most investor transactions, people want to see a 15-day escrow or less.
Sure.
Everything above 15 days is kind of a red flag that you have no idea what you're doing.
Yeah, especially if you're paying cash, which a
Yes.
lot of investors offer as a cash offer, and then they're like, a 60-day escrow, please.
That's beyond
Like,
frustrating.
why would you pay cash if you don't have the money? Why do you need
Yeah.
60 days?
So people want to know, or they do the and or assigns,
Yeah.
which is like so it's your name and or assign, so you can sell the contract off,
Right.
which is a boring cheap tactic.
Yes, it is.
It's an old thing that used to work, and it works on you and a seller, but definitely doesn't work with an agent in the middle.
Exactly. Yeah, and agents are pretty much wise to the fact that this is
Yeah.
going to be an offer that person that's offering is not
Yeah.
going to be the end buyer.
Yeah, somebody's gonna buy the contract from you.
Yeah.
Which is called a wholesale. So the length of term should always be under 15 days. Our standard in the office is 14 days. That's about what it takes us to close. Lately, we've been able to cram them together in like 3 days, but that's just because the process is becoming more fluid, and we have investors saying, "Hey, put my money to work."
Yeah.
So and they're calling us instead of us calling them. When it's that way, it's a lot easier to close these things.
A little bit.
So the next part's purchase amount. So you obviously got to say how much you're going to pay. But the next section is the deposit, right? And right now, well, actually, we don't have a lot of deposits out, thankfully, right now,
Right. Not at the moment.
because we closed a bunch of stuff and we're selling a bunch of stuff. So fortunately, we don't have that. Like we had at one point with like $60,000 to $70,000 in
Yeah.
deposits out, and so for those of you who don't know, a deposit is an amount of money you put in escrow to say that, look, this amount of money, since I'm serious, I'll perform, and if there's any real damages or I don't perform, the seller gets to keep my deposit after a series of things happen.
Right.
So, our standard has been $5,000 for a long time, and that's been a realtor standard for a serious deposit for like a decade. Especially if you're talking to a realtor that's over the age of 40, they're probably going to want to see $5,000.
Yeah.
The only problem with that is if you run a decent sized company, right? You have a whole bunch of them out.
Yeah. And we're writing tons of offers every week.
Yeah.
So if we have 10 offers that are in escrow that we still have to do inspections on, that's $50,000 that we have sitting out there in deposit.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's tough explaining to the realtor on the other side, like, look, I'd love to put a $5,000, I'd love to put a $10,000 deposit down, but like, we're just going to close the deal if it makes sense. If it's not, we're not going to do it. And we're going to do this all in a timely manner. You know, I'd love to put down nothing as an EMD.
Exactly.
But, you know, there's a lot of agents that have a very old school way of thinking, and that's not going to fly with them.
Well, so there's a few things, right, that people don't read about the contract. One is the 3 days to make your deposit. So the default language in the residential purchase agreement is in the buyer's favor.
Yeah.
So by default, it asks how you're going to deliver the deposit. And the deposit, the default answer is by wire, by bank wire to escrow. And what you're saying is by bank wire within 3 days. So usually within that time period, you can get in the property.
Right.
So you know if you're going to bail on things very, very early on.
Sure.
So you can, like, 70% of your deals don't even need to put a deposit in if they're going to fail. Well, you know, these offers that, like, somebody's giving you false information on, you go out and it's not what they say it is, you can just bail on the thing without trying to fight for 30 days over money.
Right.
The problem with the old school agents, the same people who want that $5,000 deposit, is they want a copy of a check.
Yeah. Which is the old way of doing it. You used to have to, like, write a check to escrow. Like, you didn't know who the escrow company is.
You used to actually write a check to the escrow. So if you're taking it back even farther, so during the bank era, they did write a check to escrow.
Yeah.
You'd fill in the blank. Before, you would write a check to the name of the agency, and they would deposit in the agency a trust account.
Yeah.
And then the agency would deliver that, because it locked the buyer in, deliver it to escrow. They would sign it inside and out of their trust account. Now, the trust accounts are a nightmare for brokerages, so most of them don't want to even touch the deposit.
Yeah.
Why it went to the delivered by wire thing.
Well, you know, when you could no longer invest that money sitting in a trust account, what's the point?
Exactly. Yeah. If you can't make tens of thousands of dollars and other people's hundreds of thousands of dollars sitting doing nothing. I think it got into, like, weird stuff with, like...
Well, people do weird stuff with money when they're sitting in an account.
Really
so,
do.
Like, I'm just going to put this in the stock market, and it's gone.
And it's gone. But it's so true. Or there's an economic downturn, and then it goes for
they start paying their rent and stuff with it. Yeah, yep, it's bad. I mean, it's a good thing that these laws exist, but you know.
No, we're glad they changed the RPA, right?
Sure.
So one thing a new investor has to educate a seasoned agent on a lot of times is that to read Section 2 of the purchase agreement. They usually don't read Section 2, 3, 4, or 5, like the new wording. They got used to their old contract, and they don't actually know that they don't need a copy of that deposit. It says right there. It says right here, I'm going to deliver by wire. So why do you need a written check?
Yeah, it's because they have a transaction coordinator, an office manager that's so old and has been doing it for such a long time that
it's on a checklist somewhere.
Yeah, that's just part of their checklist, and that's what their office is asking for.
Yeah,
it's not a real offer until we have all these things.
Yeah, and they're like coming back to you like, why are you bothering me with this?
They want like a bank statement. I've been asked for this too. Yeah. You know, it's like,
oh yeah, hold on, let me just send you my bank statement.
Yeah, exactly. Let me contact my lender and have them send you a bank statement.
You remember when we did the our private placement?
Yeah.
And we were like, how are we going to get all these people to send us copies of their tax returns to determine their accreditation?
Yeah.
And it was like just such a ridiculous idea because we didn't even want to send copies of our bank statements, let alone ask somebody else what their net worth was.
Yeah.
It's a similar issue, right?
It is.
So one of the so that's one thing you have to educate the agents on. In addition, they freak out if when you go to the bottom section of the page, you put the loan amount as the entire loan amount instead of the deposit. So like if your purchase price is 100 and your loan amount is 100, it shows a negative number because it's your deposit being returned to you.
Right.
And people were like, how are you going to do that? I'm like, it's really easy. My lender is going to fund the whole thing.
Yeah. No, there's no lenders that do that.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess I know in your world you're unfamiliar with investor type products.
Yeah, Wells Fargo does not do this. Yes, we know.
You're absolutely right. But my lender does.
So
call them.
And there's a section for loan type.
Yeah.
And you have to, if you're going to use private money or hard money, there's this box you check that has a blank blank space and you fill in
the other
box.
Yeah,
the other box, and you fill in private lender or hard money.
Mm-hmm.
And so many people make the mistake of clicking the checking the cash box that they get really manhandled by escrow when they're really mad. They have to rewrite all of their escrow instructions because somebody didn't do the job right.
Yeah, and escrow, they open an escrow. If it's a cash deal,
Mm-hmm.
they open it as a cash escrow. And if you tell them later on that there's a loan, which this happens to us all the time, where, especially when we were doing loans,
Mm-hmm.
people were coming to us with a deal and they wrote it as a cash offer. And then we come in and I have to tell escrow, hey, I'm the lender, here's our signed loan docs, all this stuff. They're like, I didn't know there was a loan on this file. This is supposed to be a cash deal. And I'm like, oh, well, I wasn't aware of how you guys accepted this thing, but there's a loan. We're ready to fund. So
can I have paper? Thanks.
Yeah, exactly. Like, usually at that point, they're like, all right, well, he's ready to fund, but now I have to go back and redo the whole escrow instructions and all this stuff, and they're annoyed, and they have to, there's costs. There's an extra cost for recording and all these other things they add in.
What's unfortunate, too, like the system is, their systems are boilerplate documentation.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially, they're like checking a box all the way back on page 1 that asks like what type of purchase it is, and they probably went through like 15 pages of like fill in the blank, and they got through 15 pages of fill in the blank again because one box was checked wrong.
Yeah, the first box.
It's or like if a buyer's name swaps.
Yeah, exactly.
So one of the first things you'll see escrow say that they won't start escrow instructions until they have a deposit because they want to know who's putting the deposit in, because it may, especially if it's a third party deposit.
Yeah, like a parent or something putting a deposit in. Yep.
So we have an email that goes out that just basically says, this is who we are. We're part of this transaction. There's going to be a loan.
Yep. Here's all the documents you need.
Yeah. And it just makes escrow's life way, way easier.
Yeah. Well, it would make it easier if they actually read it.
Well, it would if they actually, and they send us long stuff like, did you read it? Yes, I read everything you sent me.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you read the part where it says I need all the HOA documentation and CC&Rs?
Right.
No? Great, thanks.
Yeah, because we asked for it.
But I feel like those are the, page 1, those are like the big like, those are the main tenements of an offer. And
Sure.
And basically, they're the same if you write an offer on your own. Those are the only things you need on a piece of paper.
Yeah, basically page 3 through page 9 is just legal speak.
Basically, I think somewhere down there, maybe even page 6 is the new contingency or the contingency section now. It used to be like page 2 or 3. Now it's like buried farther.
There's like a checkbox or
Or
something.
like the wait periods. Like it says like how many days of inspection you have, and it defaults to 17, but you can shorten it or lengthen it, all that stuff. So page 2 is like a bunch of these. Who's paying for what? Who's paying for title? Who's paying for escrow?
Mm-hmm.
The
whether
worst,
you want termite, whether you want property inspection.
And if you're asking for a property inspection, termite,
As an investor.
yeah, as an investor, retrofit, the seismic retrofit, smoke detectors, you just expect your offer to get laughed at. The less boxes you fill in, the more likely your offer is going to get accepted.
Yeah.
And because imagine an agent's job is to, every time they see a blue text, they have to write on a notepad or make a note somewhere of like how they're going to counter this thing or accept it.
Yeah.
So if you have 42 things they have to do, they're going to be really pissed looking at your offer.
Investor offers are supposed to be easy because they're as is. You're buying the house as it is. So you're not asking the seller to do anything to it. You're just buying it, and that's it.
Yeah, leave it alone. I'll take your junk. I just don't want your tenants.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you need to you need to deliver it vacant, or we need to have a reasonable time frame that whoever's living in is moving out.
Yeah, and then lately we've been doing a lot of escrow holdbacks. We hold back a certain amount of money from the seller that says if the tenants don't move out by this day, we have to keep this money.
We've been burned too many times.
Yeah, well, I mean, the interest costs.
Yeah,
right? I mean,
exactly.
If we end up spending $3,000 a month on interest waiting for this tenant to move out,
Yeah,
it's eating our profit.
exactly. And then if we, on top of that, have to file for eviction or something because, which we got real close on this last
We
last
got
one.
lucky she actually went.
Yeah, lucky. Yeah, on the day of the court.
The day of she just said, "Okay, I'm an idiot. I'll move on." We offered. Okay, so off topic, but we offered this lady $1,000. Right?
Yeah.
We said if you move out today, it's $1,000. She'd already moved out.
Yeah.
She just had animals there and like some vehicles.
Yep.
And so we're like, all right, maybe she has a money problem. We give her some money so she can like pay somebody to either store her animals while she finds a new place, or a large deposit, for a pet somewhere, or whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
She denies the deposit, right, and says she couldn't get out in time, even though we gave her 2 weeks of lead time, even up to the date we delivered this check.
Yep.
And then 3 days later goes to court and then just surrenders the house and
Yeah.
gets no money.
No money at all.
I don't know what drug she was on, but it is what it is.
Yeah, and where can we get some?
Exactly. So the next section of concern is the inspection times,
Yes.
which I believe is page 6 now. And it's essentially you have a loan contingency or a loan approval period. You have a inspection period or inspection inspection period or whether or not you choose to have an inspection. You have I think those are two main ones. There's a bunch of miscellaneous stuff, but those are the only ones that matter. Do yourself a favor, leave all this stuff blank, and just put one phrase on page 1. Page 1, there's 2 lines. You can type anything you want. Just type, subject to the inspection of my partner.
Yeah.
That's it. They don't need the name of your partner. It could be your dog. I
Yeah.
don't care. Just subject to the inspection of my partner. And that means for the entire duration of that escrow, until you say, my partner says it's okay, the contract is invalid.
Right.
The contract essentially is protecting you. You can get out of it.
Sure.
Sorry, my partner said no. Your partner could be your spouse, your cockatoo, anybody you want it to be.
Your actual partner.
Your actual partner. Yeah, because basically neither of us see the property at this point. We said Mike, contractor.
Exactly.
So we just had a project this morning or yesterday morning that a contractor went to go walk, and he helped us out. I mean, he said that the rehab's $5,000 lower than we originally thought.
That's good.
So he got us much closer to an accepted offer. We're still $5,000 away. I don't think they're going to find another buyer for this place, so I'm pretty sure we're going to get it.
Cool.
But by sending our contractor out after the offer was accepted, not before, not wasting a contractor's time dragging them through houses, he helped us reduce our cost and ensure maybe we get a better deal.
Yeah, that's always good. Don't want to upset the contractors.
They don't get paid to go walk your house.
No. Some do.
Some do.
Like if they're on payroll.
They should be charging like $250 every time they show up. That's what I would do if I was a contractor.
Yeah, they should.
If anybody has never worked in that field, it's supposed to be that if you start your truck, you get $250.
Nice.
That's how the world works. If you start your truck, you go out to a job, and you're not going to make at least $250, you shouldn't go out to the job.
Okay. Yeah.
It's half a day, or it's fuel, like it's your man hours, and that's not even like considering like materials. Should be $250.
Look, I'm just trying to get some drinking money,
Exactly. Well, you can't buy very much beer and groceries, right? By accepting $80 on a job that barely covers
That's a
fuel.
lot of beer.
It barely covers fuel.
Well, let's hope it's close.
I mean, it's like the trip to the high desert plus the convenience store. That's an entire segue that could cost you your entire day's worth of cash.
Don't buy beer at a convenience store. It's the most expensive place.
But
to get
even
it.
if you went to Staters, you're still you got like $8 left. You can buy some Old E.
No, lottery tickets.
Lottery tickets.
Yeah, obviously.
That's obviously how you make your day.
Well, that's how you're going to make the money that you were supposed to make on your contract.
Exactly.
You're just going to win the lottery.
And then when you get the scratcher when you go back in and give them the one for the next one, right? Here's $1. Can I have another scratcher?
Yeah.
That's what you're supposed to do.
Because, they just have every single one in a row. They're all a payer. They all pay out like
absolutely.
that.
That's exactly, the odds are in your favor.
The odds are in your favor. If you get the same one you just got, you're probably going to win on that one, too.
Oh man.
I wish I could have a lottery. That I could just.
I know. I want to
sell tickets to this.
I would stop doing real estate.
Really, I mean, it'd be so fun.
Oh, dude. So page 10. We went over the arbitration and the other one on page 7. Liquidated damages. Liquidated damages. They didn't explain. So liquidated damages, you don't have to check that box either or sign that part, but it essentially says that if anybody, right, an inspector, appraiser, or your escrow company incurs any liquidated damages, meaning even just fees for service, that can be deducted from your deposit before it's returned to you.
Right.
Just don't sign that.
Yeah.
That way you'll have to agree to the deductions. It can't be done automatically.
Exactly.
Last part is page 10, which is the acceptance page. If there's a counter offer, there's a section where it says subject to a counter, and you have to sign that section saying I also sign this and the counter. Both the buyer and seller do.
Okay.
Just need to make sure it's fully executed. But again, it doesn't matter because willing buyer, willing seller. If you don't fully execute it and the docs aren't just being cleaned up, the truth is that you don't have a deal.
Exactly. So, I mean that's an offer. I mean,
yeah, that's
your agent has to sign it. There's some other stuff at the end, but they should know how to do that.
And if anybody wants, actually in our email package, there's a sample offer.
Yes.
So if you want all the stuff I just talked about, there's a you can go to CRG, Cat, Roger, Gorilla.
Charlie Roscoe Golf.
Sure, Charlie Roscoe Golf. .email. So www.charlieroscoegolf.email. Don't actually type those full words. Charlie Roscoe Golf. Charlie Roger Golf.
That's the military alphabet.
Yeah.
They have a name for it.
So if you go to CRG.email, there's basically just a page where we fill in some information. We don't sell you anything. We just take your information so we can send you the updates when stuff changes with the law.
Yeah.
But all these questions are answered in this email. This big email that you get when you fill out this registration form.
Oh, you're talking about the Let's Get Started email.
The Let's Get Started email.
Yeah, that's the big email they'll get after they sign up for the CRG.email.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they get this awesome email from us that has a ton of information in
and
it.
that nobody reads.
Some people read it.
Some people
we had a
read
lady
it.
today call, said she had read through it and had like one question that wasn't on there.
Oh, yeah? What'd she ask?
You'll have to ask Joanna. I forgot.
Okay. All right. I'm curious. But I mean, we packed as much information as we could. We're going to redo it to even make it more line by line soon. But it has, there's a link in that one that has a sample RPA. And it has exactly how we fill out our purchase agreement.
Mm-hmm.
And it actually uses the words your name, seller name. Like I filled it in so like it's kind of dummy proof. And you can give it to agents and tell the agents, follow this exact format. You'd be surprised. They actually do a pretty damn good job of filling out that thing the way you send it to them.
Yeah.
I'm still actually shocked considering like how 90% of realtors in this business do like no business, but they're trained.
Yeah.
Like when you send it to them, they fill it out right. People, they know the RPA.
All I can think about is Blazing Saddles, where he has them take the oath and he says, "I state your name."
State your name. Yeah. I state your name.
Your name.
We have got some RPAs like that. Pat. I have got
like,
some.
You need to put your name there.
Yeah.
Right? No, it already says your name there. Right?
One,
Oh,
I got one that said your agency or your agent name or something like that
Oh,
in that section. I was like, that's not the name of the agency. That's where you put your agency.
That's funny.
But if you fill out that form and submit your information, you'll get all this stuff back. And then every time we update that, we'll update it. It's got a bunch of other stuff. It's got like a deal analysis form. It's got a rehab analysis and calculator. It's got a bunch of stuff in it, so like what to do each step of the way.
Yeah.
So since we're on the last quarter of this show, we should talk about what an offer should actually look like, right?
Well, yeah. I thought that's kind of what we were talking about.
No, but I mean a non-purchase agreement, like an actual, like you and a seller, you sat down with a dude who just wants to sell his house, right?
Yeah, because you don't need all this stuff. I mean, most of that legal jargon that's in the residential purchase agreement that the California BRE put together is to protect the brokers and the realtors. Yes. And, there's some language in there to protect the buyer and the seller, but it's not, for the most part, mandatory. Of course, we're not attorneys and we're not, anything like that. So
these are not legal recommendations.
Definitely not legal recommendations.
And it's not how we believe legally you should fill out a form. It's just how we do it, and it's an example for entertainment purposes only.
Yeah, and educational, whatever.
By education, we mean like if you have no experience in this field, it's something to consider, but maybe not necessarily the exact way you should do things.
Yeah, exactly. So if you do what we say right now, and you get in trouble down the road, that's your fault because we told you not to do it.
Yeah, we told you this is just a show for entertainment.
Yeah, but this is what we actually do. So if there's holes in it and there's something we're missing,
send us an email.
Let us know. I mean, who knows? Maybe we're wrong.
Next, go send us if there's holes in what we're saying. Community restoration group at gmail.com.
Sure.
You could send me or Todd an email there and be like, you guys are idiots, I'll tell you why.
Yeah, that's what most the fan mail I get about this show is, that I get at that email.
Says you guys are idiots?
Yeah, just pretty much like, you're an idiot, why are you on the show, that sort of thing. And I'm like, thank you for your feedback.
You just send him back a picture with a thumbs up?
Yeah, thumbs up. I'll send him an autographed picture.
No, in all seriousness, we actually do have like people who really love the club, love our club, and love the company. They do give us like constructive feedback. We have some people that make corrections to purchase contracts for us and show us little nuances to change in the law.
Yeah, I've not yet got an email from anybody saying you're an idiot.
No.
Stop doing the show.
We're just kidding.
For the record, we're just playing around. We're having a good time.
But so Danny, the contractor we mentioned earlier,
yes,
who's been on the show, Danny Ruiz.
Danny
had a deal and he didn't know what to do to put together a purchase contract because
Right.
the attorney, it was a trust sale, and the attorney was like, "Oh, send me a contract." And I was like, "What are you doing? Why are you filling out an RPA?" And he was like, "I don't know." And so we typed one in Google Drive.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? Since we're talking
Got
about
it on you?
I'm going to open the Google Drive.
This is a contract that basically we came up with on the fly, which we always kind of wanted to do a contract like this, which is just bullet point, where you have all the bullet points of what needs to be on the contract. And the long version of this is that the attorney was perfectly fine with our bullet point contract and accepted it.
He just signed it.
Yeah, he signed it, and we opened escrow, and after doing all the stuff we need to do, we closed the deal. And yeah, we've sold that house, and we did really well on that one too.
We also used it for the one in Chino Hills we bought on Hillside.
Yes, we did.
So essentially, this contract, which will be a part of a program we're building called DealBot that allows you to put just your rehab amount and your resale amount in this calculator, and it takes you all the way through to sending the offer to the seller.
Mm-hmm.
This is the contract that will be in there. The first thing you need is the date.
Yes.
Top of the form, today's date.
Today's date, easy enough.
Yep. Next thing you need is call it what it is. This
Call
is
it.
a purchase contract.
So we're going to put that as the title.
Title is purchase
As
contract.
purchase contract, and I'm writing these down as you're telling me.
You are. You should, if you're in your car, you should be
You should
totally
be
writing these
absolutely.
down. Or you should take out your voice notes app and just play it. Or just
Or
record.
you can re-listen to the podcast
Oh, there's
later
a
on
place
today.
that you can listen to
You
it?
could go to kcaaradio.com and check out the podcast under the Flip Flop Investor Show. You're welcome.
It'll also be on YouTube too.
It will be on
eventually.
YouTube. It's actually on YouTube Live right now. If you're watching YouTube Live, which I can't tell how many of you are watching, but we appreciate you and hope you're enjoying the show. And you can see that we're not actually writing anything down, and there are no papers in front of us.
I'm reading from a phone.
Yeah, exactly.
So the next thing is the address of the property.
Okay.
You know what we're talking about, right?
Sure, that's important.
The complete address, not 123 Main Street, just 123 Main Street, Riverside, California 92501. You need the whole thing.
Okay, we're going downtown.
Downtown. Purchase price.
Purchase price.
How much you're going to purchase the thing for?
3 chickens, 2 goats, and a horse.
That's a legitimate contract.
It could
it's
be.
It's a trade of value in exchange for property.
Yep,
There's nothing wrong with that.
there is not. I
Um,
didn't say they were living, though.
no, we did not.
No.
What
So,
if they're exceptionally hand-raised chickens
they could be. These are prize chickens.
that have been grazing on the finest of grain?
Are they cage free?
They have been roaming the fields, eating worms.
I'd like to meet these chickens before I order
One is
from the
named
menu.
Henry.
Yeah. I'd like to meet the chicken before I order from the menu.
We're gonna have to take a trip.
We're gonna have to take a trip to the farm after this one.
Oh man, if anybody's seen Portlandia.
Fred Armiston.
And when I say when I'm reading these off, we actually have these listed as just the title. It says RE for reference,
Yep.
the address, purchase price, and then it has the dollar amount. I mean, it's this simple: purchase price colon 3. Like in this case, we paid $340 for this last house. Escrow days. That's the exact phrase we have, and then we put the number of days. In this case, 14.
Okay.
14 is our default number of days.
Yes.
Escrow company, Emerald Escrow. That's a company we use out of Corona.
Yes,
It's
we
just
do.
an escrow company, Emerald Escrow. No additional details. We'll give them the address and phone number and all that stuff later. You can add it if you want.
Great escrow company.
They are, and you can add. They're really good with investors. You can add more stuff to this if you want, but this is so you can just write these on a scratch pad off the top of your head. There's nothing wrong with lined paper and blue or black ink.
Yeah.
And just writing this out verbatim.
Sure. Yeah, you don't even need to type it.
Don't write the phrase 123 Main Street. Write the actual
Yeah.
address of the property.
Please.
And choose
For
the right
me.
purchase price. Title company, First American.
Okay.
You know, we use First American on
Yes, we
every
do.
transaction we can. Earnest money deposit. In this case, geez, we had a $6,000 deposit on this last house.
Oh yeah.
So we
Well, I think it's because we're dealing with an attorney.
yeah.
Attorneys sometimes are old school in that regard as well.
Yeah, no, it was because it was a wholesale deal, and the wholesale went sideways, and they gave us the contract, and they had already promised $6,000, and we had to replace their $6,000 deposit.
Got it.
That's what it was.
That is right.
They got reimbursed. HOA, none. We addressed whether or not there's an HOA. It's pretty important.
Yeah.
Closing costs. In this case, buyer paid all closing costs. So it says buyer pays all closing, or you could say. And by the way, if you say buyer pays all closing costs, that affects your purchase price.
Yes, it
Usually
does.
to the tune of a safe number would be about 2% if you don't know the actual cash amount.
2% of your purchase price.
Yeah, so reduce it by 2%.
Yeah.
but in most of them they say
each to pay their own.
Each to pay their own expenses as customary. And and there's every escrow company knows what customary means, and if there's any squabble over it, you can call the seller and ask.
Yeah, and you can be specific.
Yeah. Possession. When do you receive the property?
Right.
After closing. So in this case, it says within 30 days. We usually say upon closing.
Right.
If it's vacant, we want the property vacant. In this case, there was a seller who unfortunately had a spouse die, and he was cleaning up his house for quite some time. He was fairly depressed, and we paid for him to move and cleaned his house for him after he sold all the stuff he wanted to. And he fortunately had met somebody new, and they were helping him greatly on the way out as well.
Yes.
So we, in this case, we held back $2,500 until his stuff was out.
Right.
Because our moving costs for him were about $1,800.
Yeah, we paid for the moving truck.
Which I don't have a sponsor, but we use Inland Empire Movers, and I've used them now to move myself, and they were awesome.
Yeah.
And they were really good to him too.
And they take American Express.
And they take Amex. That helps. they were really good to the seller.
Yeah.
This is the first time we've used a movie company to move a seller, and it worked out really well.
And the first time we paid him with an American Express.
Yep, right, yeah, because they're always like, send us a visa.
We don't even bother asking anymore.
We're just mad if they don't take it.
Yeah, exactly. I like those points.
No, seriously. We're going to go on a cool vacation at some point. We
That'd
keep
be great.
backing the card up. Moving costs are in this. That's essentially the gist of what's necessary. People, you can add the line subject to the inspection of my partner if you want.
Sure.
You can add and then below that it says Community Restoration Group as the purchaser, and then owner, the guy's name that we bought it from.
Yeah.
And both parties sign, and it's a valid contract. You can add a myriad of clauses to protect yourself. One is the inspection one, saying it's subject to the inspection of my partner. Another one would be amount of time to put deposit in escrow if you want to add that. All the other stuff we talked about, loan amount, all those things, but they're not necessary.
Right.
Escrow is going to ask you all those things, or you're going to fill out a take sheet, and your escrow instructions are going to become your contract and supersede your original contract.
Exactly.
So by that I mean, when you give this contract to escrow, they're going to write a contract, and that new one is going to be signed by all parties, and it's going to say the old contract is now part of this contract, and that all of these new directions override anything we saw before. By the way, different escrows are different with that. With the way they treat that, our escrow overrides the previous contract, but different people do it differently.
Yeah.
Especially banks accept the previous contract on their contracts.
So check with your attorney. Read your contracts.
Yeah, check with your escrow officer, attorney, all the parties that specifically put these things together for you.
Yeah.
But that's it. I mean, that's the whole thing. That's all we do. Write a notepad, and we did 2 purchases this year that just said Charlie, who's been on the show, right? Charlie Hustle literally wrote, I don't know if Charlie wants to say his last name, so Charlie, right? Or I, name of the seller, sell my property to Charlie for $85,000. Property address, 123 Main Street. Property is as is, and buyer will pay all closing costs. And they both signed it, and we bought 2 properties with him on it, and
it was handwritten on yellow legal pad.
Yep. And it was like cursive and kind of sloppy.
Yeah.
And escrow loved it, and Charlie made a killing.
Yeah.
Like, we made great money on those properties, and it was just, it was an older guy who had been an investor for a long time, and he appreciated that he could just sit down and write the contract and go.
Of course. Yeah, he could remember the days when the purchase contract, was only half a page long.
Yeah, actually, so keep that in mind. So, like, a lot of people will say that I couldn't get them to accept this term or whatever. I mean, we're bypassing all the new stuff that are on these contracts that all the older people, especially people that have to sell because they lost a spouse,
Sure.
or people who are in a financial bind and they need to move into some kind of a facility that helps take care of them, or whatever the case may be. Those people don't have time or experience with these long contracts.
And I think they're also jaded too, because there's a lot of people out there that will hide, hidden things behind jargon.
Yeah.
And if you can write a contract in plain English, they're going to understand it. They know fully what you're getting into, rather than some strange contract with a ton of legalese that, you're not really going to read it. You're not going to sit there and read it while you're trying, before you sign. I've never seen a single person. I've met notaries that have told me they've had people read the entire loan document set.
I've had one person in my entire career do that.
Yeah, it happens. But most people don't even give them a moment's notice. They just initial at the bottom of each page and move to the next.
I actually had a guy who was an attorney. He was a DA.
Okay.
And he asked if I could send the contract the loan docs ahead of time.
Okay.
I wasn't a lender, but I reached out to the lender for him.
Did he redline all of
So
them?
he could read them all. And him and his wife, who were very meticulous, asked me and the lender a series of questions
Okay.
until page 3.
And then they gave up.
They gave up. And then they still signed all the signed it with all the questions.
Yeah, so even a guy who does this for a living
Yes.
couldn't even stand doing it
No,
past page 3.
it's just 200 pages of meticulous jargon.
Yeah.
What are you going to say, no? The bank's not going to change the loan docs for you.
Yeah, exactly. Even if you redlined it and said, I don't really agree with the way you're using the word distribute right
No
here.
one cares.
Yeah, sorry, then don't buy the
Yeah.
house.
They're like, we're not giving you money then.
Yeah.
The only other thing that we should tell people is the who writes the contract thing.
Okay.
So one of the tricks that a lot of investors use to protect themselves is they hand the notepad to the seller and say, my writing's kind of sloppy. Can you write this contract for us?
Mm-hmm.
And they do that because the author, the person who wrote the contract, is the one who has to uphold the contract.
Sure.
You can't, if you wrote the contract, you can't say you didn't understand it.
Exactly.
So it just helps avoid a future lawsuit if, in case some family member gets in the ear and says, now 3 years later that you're of sound mind and body and not, in one of the worst circumstances of your life that we help take care of, that you want to sue somebody,
Right.
because somebody pushed you into you should sue that guy. He did whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's that's a real thing. We used to have a page in our loan documents, and we've talked about this before.
The English one?
That you hand it to the
Yeah.
person, you don't say anything, you just say read the page and follow the instructions. And on the page it says, please write out on the lines below that you speak the English language
Yeah.
fluently and you need no interpreter to understand
Yes.
these loan documents, because our attorney, and I imagine that this probably happened because somebody
Yes.
shows up to the court
It happened a lot.
asking for an interpreter. They say, I speak, Vietnamese, or I speak Chinese or
Mm-hmm.
Spanish or something, and I didn't understand what I was signing. So, all these little things just get added on to contracts as time goes on.
So
And
annoying.
It's been many, many, many years since real estate started getting bought and sold in this country.
Just do good business. Just be a
Yeah.
good person.
Yeah, be honest.
Don't
Disclose everything.
don't force a seller to do anything they don't want to.
Right.
Just be a good person. Do what you would want to do if it was your parents.
Yeah, and disclose everything.
Yeah.
If you're trying to hide something, like I'm going to sell this off to another person and I don't want them to know who the other person's going to buy
You're
it.
being dishonest.
You're being dishonest.
Yeah.
You're hiding something.
And just tell the seller exactly what you plan on doing and make sure they're okay with it.
Yeah, and this goes for all you wholesalers out there. I know it might be hard. You might think that they're not going to like
Yeah.
you or not trust you. Or
They
not,
will.
Not like the deal, but disclose it. It's going to make the transaction so much smoother.
Just say, look, what I do is I find deals like this. I either partner or sell these contracts off to other people.
Mm-hmm.
I go out and I help people like you, and I have a team of people who help me close these transactions.
Yep. So even though I might not be buying it, I know the person that will be, and they're going to take care of it. So I don't know. It seems like it makes sense to me.
So, club?
Yeah, let's talk about the club.
3
We
minutes?
got a couple minutes, so I guess we'll talk about the Inland Empire Real Estate Investment Club for a moment. Those of you folks out there looking to get into real estate investing, or if you just really want to meet us, come on down to the Inland Empire Real Estate Investment Club. We have our main monthly meeting on the fourth Wednesday of every month, which means May 23rd will be the big day this year.
Mm-hmm.
Or this month, sorry. May 23rd will be our big monthly meeting this month, and that's at 6 o'clock p.m. at Loft 84 in downtown Riverside. And the Saturday before that, which is on May 19th, we have Saturday morning coffee. That'll be at the Arcade Coffee Roasters in downtown Riverside. Well, kind of downtown Riverside. University in Chicago is the intersection there. Arcade Coffee Roasters, that starts at 8 in the morning.
Yep.
And we do that until about 10 in the morning on Saturday. The thing on the 23rd, that goes until about 10 o'clock.
6 till,
Most people
yeah,
stick around till
finish.
about 10. But you can leave early. No need to stick around if you don't want to. And we do a cash flow game.
That was yesterday.
That was just yesterday. So it's always on the first Wednesday of the month. So next month in June, it'll be on June 6th.
June 6th at Romano's.
Oh, is it June 6th? Yeah, June 6th at Romano's in Redlands. So definitely come check those out.
6 p.m.
6 p.m. That's
6
correct. And if you want any of the information, go to meetup.com. Look up the Inland Empire Real Estate Investment Club, or just type it into your favorite search engine, Inland Empire Real Estate Investment Club. You'll get all the details you need to know. And anywho, we'll see you all again next week. I want to thank my special guest, Stephen McKee.
Yay.
And we'll see you all again next week. Take care, everyone.
Peace out, Doc.